Welcome back. Go ahead and open up viewcontroller.m and we'll see that there's two methods already defined. And this is in the .m. So view did load means that the view was loaded and that it's ready to be displayed basically. So here's where you can do, like they suggest, setup after the view. We'll delete that comment. Did receive memory warning. I almost never do anything with this method. Ever since like iOS 5, iOS basically handles all memory issues, and you'll know if something's really messed up. But I'll leave it there just cause. So I want to show you guys basically just the concept of a simple method, because when I started coding, I thought this was like a really hard concept to grab, and it's essential to know and understand this before really moving forward. So to create a method, just dash, and then we're going to do void because we're not actually returning anything. If you did want to return something, this is where you would define the type or class that you want to return. So let's do void. Let's just do test method, and then open bracket, close bracket, and then we'll do an ns log, which means this is just a log that'll log to the output. Test method hit. Okay. And then that's a method. I just created a method. So to call this method, and we're going to do it in view did load after the view's loaded, I do self test method. And Xcode's really good about like auto completing stuff. So if you like start typing it out and you see on top what you want, if you hit tab, it'll finish it, and that's like super nice and helpful. So okay, the view's gonna load, and then I'm gonna call the test method. Self is also another interesting concept if you're not familiar with it, but basically it means that this class, myself, like I'm in this class, so I'm gonna call test method, and it's gonna do this or whatever in this method. So self just means you're calling either methods or properties that you've defined in that class, and we'll see it a ton throughout the project as we go. So let's save that. Let's go back to storyboard and view. Let's just make the view something different so we know it's loaded. And let's go ahead and run this so we can see everything in action. To run, you can hit Command R or just hit the play button. And you should have all these different simulators loaded into Xcode after you download. So yeah, I usually recommend going with like iPhone 6 or 6S as of now, just because it's the most widely used iPhone, at least in projects I've done. And usually if you have say you have an option between like 4 and 6 plus for interface purposes, when you're doing responsive, it's good to try and find one in the middle. So iPhone 5 would be good too, but 6 has just been kind of the sweet spot. So cool, our application's firing up, and we should see an orange background and output in the console that says test method hit. So test method got hit. So woo, all right, we know that piece of code got called in this view controller, and this view, and it's orange. So you can see we have this view that's controlled by this code, and this got called because we called it in the method that gets called when the view gets loaded. So that's a super basic example of kind of how storyboard works with different classes and how methods work. Let's go ahead and save this and get ready for making some real changes and start throwing out some real features. So I'm going to stop the simulator. Let's hit you can hit Command S or save, and then let's actually get our Git repo set up really quick. So let's close out of Xcode. You can quit the simulator, leave it up, whatever. And open up source tree. So with source tree, I already have a few repositories. Yours is probably empty if you just downloaded it. But let's hit new repository. And this gives you all these different options. So clone from URL typically would mean you got a URL from GitHub or Bitbucket, and they give you a URL to that repository. You can just type that in and it'll pull down all that code. Create remote repository. This will actually create a project on, I believe, Bitbucket for you. But let's just add, what we want to use is add existing local repository. So since we already created that project in that code folder for me, or wherever you put it, we're just going to add that into source tree. So now source tree will manage basically the file control of that. So hit add existing repository and go to wherever you put that project, but you'll see Ghost Chat project. So that was what I created in Xcode. So we just want to add that, hit open. You can leave everything like it is, make sure it's Git, and we don't want to create a remote repository. I'll show you guys how to do that later, so you can push your code up to GitHub or Bitbucket and show it off, and even make it a portfolio item if you want. But yeah, let's just leave everything default, hit create, and bam, we have our project in source control now. So if you double click on this, you'll see all the changes and files that we've added to this down here in unstaged files. So I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty. Like you just see, yeah, the Xcode project. You can see, everything that they basically set up for us. So let's just make our first commit, and I'll show you kind of what that means. So stage all these files. They'll be up here. You'll see that the green means they're getting added to this folder, basically. And type in whatever you want. First commit for Snapchat clone. Whoa. And then you just hit commit. And bam. So look, if we look at our history, first commit for Snapchat clone. All right. So now the next commit we make, we can always roll back to this commit. And what you'll see is as you go along your project and continue to commit code, you'll have basically all these different, you'll be able to go back and see what you changed at different stages. So a lot of times people will make different branches for, you see branches over here, different features. We're just going to probably stay on one branch, and we'll just make commits here and there so you do have the opportunity to go back. And I'll show you how to push code up so you can see it on the web too. But yeah, that's your first commit. You got your project set up. We're good to go. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll get back and start busting out some real features.